Hello students, I am your social science digital mentor and we are going to study history first. Chapter 1, People and their history. In this chapter you will study about history and its types, the geographic influences, importance of history, sources of history, names of our country, the time frame, different types of past. History. The word history has come from the Greek language. In this language, the word historia gives the meaning know this. So the word history started to be used as know our past or to know about the people who lived in the past. हिस्ट्री में हम जो लोग हमसे पहले रहकर जा चुके हैं उनके बारे में पढ़ते हैं या हमारे भूतकाल के बारे में पढ़ते हैं. We can also say history is the study of the past. It describes us the changeover from past to the present world. It is a systematic study of the past events and records. It tells us about the story of early man as what they thought and achieved from time to time and period to period. It is based on facts and not on imagination. It helps us to learn about the people, culture, art, and architecture of the earlier time. History motivates us to learn from the past and make the present world a better place to live in. It helps us to know about the lives of early men and their activities. History से हम हमारे से पहले रहे लोगों के लाइफस्टाइल के बारे में भी जानते हैं. उन्होंने क्या किया, उन्होंने क्या सीखा और आज जो हम हैं वो कैसे बने, ये हम हिस्ट्री से सीखते हैं. History also tells us about the past settlements, the base of the economy, and about the social and cultural life of the early men. It throws light on the clothes and food of the early people, their belief, faith, and their work. हम उनके काम और उनके विश्वास के बारे में भी जानते हैं. Earlier men moved from one place to another as a nomad, hunter, food gatherer. Soon they developed themselves as food growers and then to modern man. Man started learning by doing and by gaining experience. They made discoveries and inventions for his survival, which led to the development of the society. Thus, history shows us how changes takes place over a period of time. It helps us to understand the past, plan the present, and forsake the future. इस तरह हम हिस्ट्री से ये सीखते हैं कि किस तरीके से हम अपने प्रेजेंट को प्लान करें ताकि फ्यूचर के लिए हमें मदद मिल सके. टाइप्स ऑफ हिस्ट्री. We need to get information to know about our past in different time periods. For example, to know about the incidents or happenings of today or yesterday, we hear radio, see news on television or read newspapers. To know the news of previous months or year, we gather information from the previous months or year's magazine, annual reports, etc. And to know about the news of the earlier times, we study a history book or the sources of history. History can be divided in prehistory and protohistory. History को हम दो phases में divide कर सकते हैं, एक prehistory, दूसरी protohistory. जैसे हम न्यूज़पेपर और टेलीविजन की हेल्प से हमारे कल हुए या कुछ दिनों पहले हुए चीजों के बारे में जानते हैं, वैसे ही हम हिस्ट्री की किताबों से कई समय पहले जो हुआ उसके बारे में जानते हैं. पहले ए प्रीहिस्ट्री. प्रीहिस्ट्री क्या होती है, आइए जानते हैं. इट रेफर्स टू द पीरियड व्हेन द आर्ट ऑफ राइटिंग वाज नॉट नोन. आवर इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट प्रीहिस्ट्री डिपेंड्स अपॉन द रिमेन्स ऑफ टूल्स, बोन्स, पॉटरी, ornaments and weapons that have been excavated at different sites. Prehistory वो हिस्ट्री होती है जब जिसके बारे में कुछ भी लिखा ना गया हो. बिना लिखी जाने वाली हिस्ट्री के बारे में हम अलग अलग माध्यम से जानते हैं, जैसे कि पुराने मिले हुए दांतों, हथियारों, ऑर्नामेंट्स और अलग अलग चीजों से, और इसी तरह हम प्री हिस्ट्री के बारे में पता लगाते हैं. डू यू नो many great achievements of human technology had taken place before man learned to write, such as invention of fire and wheel. History और proto history. प्रोटो हिस्ट्री उसे कहते हैं जब इंसान ने लिखना शुरू कर दिया. It refers to the period when men learned to write or the art of writing was known. The written records of dates, kings, kingdoms, names of place and people on pillars, palm leaves and bhojpatras. Do you know? Herodotus of Greece was the first person who collected the historical information systematically, found their correctness and arranged them in systematic manner to form history. He is called the father of history. Importance of history. अब history की क्या importance है? Let's see. There are many reasons why we should study history. These are as follows. First, to know our past. Most parts of social sciences other than history tell us about the world in present, but history helps us to understand how this present has evolved and came into being. It tells us about the past of the present. It teaches us about the past, which is important to understand the present. History is a systematic study of past events. Actually, it is a continuous story of one event leading to another. Present cannot be understood without understanding the past. To know about human culture and civilization. First, हिस्ट्री को हम पास्ट को जानने के लिए पढ़ते हैं ताकि हमें पता चल सके कि आज जो प्रेजेंट में है वो कैसे बना. To know about human culture and civilization. With the help of history, we come to know about the art, architecture, literature, customs, religion, etc. of our ancestors. So it is helpful in gaining the knowledge of continuous development of human culture and civilization. आज हमारा कल्चर जैसा है वैसा कैसे डेवलप हुआ ये हम अपने हिस्ट्री से जानते हैं. Look at this picture. This picture has depicted different cultures and civilizations. To lead life in a better way, history helps us to learn from the past experiences and molds our present and future in a better way. Through history, we come to know about our ancestors, their struggle for existence, their problems and great achievements. It helps us a lot in understanding the present day problems and seeking their solutions in a better way. So, अगर हम हिस्ट्री को समझेंगे, we'll know that how to react in which situation. That's how we know we should know our history. To know about the kings and ordinary people. History enables us to know about the kings and statesmen as well as ordinary people of different times. हिस्ट्री की वजह से हम आम लोगों और राजाओं के बारे में जानते हैं. जैसे this is the picture of Ashoka the Great. He was the king. Look at this picture. This is the picture of the Gupta king Chandragupta II, and these are the picture of silver coins of Chandragupta II reign. To develop important skills and qualities. The study of history helps us to understand the basic nature of our society. With the help of various examples, it cautions people from social evils like slavery, racialism, casteism, illiteracy, selfishness, etc. and promotes the spirit of tolerance, coexistence, harmony and brotherhood. To know about the evolution of different languages, history also enables us to know about the origin and evolution of different languages that we speak, read and write. आज दुनिया में बोले जाने वाली हमारी भाषाओं के बारे में वो कैसे इवॉल्व हुई ये भी हम हिस्ट्री से जानते हैं. सोर्सेज ऑफ हिस्ट्री. हिस्ट्री के क्या क्या सोर्सेज हैं वो हम कैसे कैसे जानते हैं. लेट्स नो. टू नो हिस्ट्री we need to look at the records of the past events. These records may be available in the form of written materials, pictures and objects, which are called sources. Let us see how a historian studies the source materials, available evidences and then draws conclusion. The sources can be divided into two categories. Archaeological source materials. Second, literary source materials. Archaeological sources. Some materials of the past are buried deep under the earth. They are either discovered by chance or from excavation by archaeologists who dig certain places and find ancient inscriptions, coins, pots, buildings, tools and implements, weapons, clay objects, sculptures, paintings, etc. The study of these remains tell the archaeologist about the religious, social and cultural condition of that time period. For example, building excavated at the site of Mohenjo-daro provide useful information about the Indus Valley civilization. Look at this picture. This is the site of an excavation site. Do you know? The study of the material remains buried under the earth is called archaeology. The people who study the remains of the past are called archaeologists. Inscriptions. These are the writings engraved on the rocks, pillars, clay tables, and walls of the temples and caves. They tell us about the kings and their empires and their rule, as well as about society and the language of that period. The inscription of Ashoka's period tell us about his achievements in the field of administration and the steps that he took for the welfare of the public. The study of inscriptions is called epigraphy. This is an inscription on Ashokan pillar. Do you know? The inscriptions were put up on places of the common people such as hospitals, wells, pillars, etc. Coins. Coins help us to learn about the rulers of a particular kingdom. They also provide information about the religion and extent of the territories of the ruler. Coins also tell us about the socio-economic conditions of the kingdom. Coins were made of different materials in earlier times like copper, bronze, iron, silver, gold, and even leather. They give us information on social, cultural, and economic condition of the particular period. On such coin shows King Samudragupta holding a veena in his hand. The study of coins is called numismatics. This is the picture of coins of Samudragupta. Monuments. Monuments are old buildings such as temples, stupas, palaces, tombs, and forts for their remains. They help the historians to collect information on the social and economic life, the religious beliefs, dress and art and architecture of a particular time. Look at this picture. This is the picture of an ancient fort. Tools and implements. Tools were used by hunters and food gatherers of the ancient times. They give details about the life and occupation of people. This is the picture of stone tools made by early man. Pottery. Pots made of clay and metals were used as vessels. These pots give a lot of information about the skill, technical knowledge and lifestyle of other people. These are the excavated potteries. Skeletons. In skeletal studies, the archaeologists study the skeletons. They study the structure of a skeleton and list their findings. The skeleton of a woman generally has a broader hip or pelvic area for childbearing. Jewelry found on the skeleton also helps in determining whether the skeleton belongs to a woman or a man. Fossil remains. Fossils are imprints of animals, plants and humans preserved in rocks. They are the remains of the hard body parts such as bones or skull. They give information about animals that have become extinct. Look at this picture. This is the picture of a fossils of a diagram. Literary sources. All written records or the past are known as literary sources. They are very important for the historian. Before the invention of paper, people wrote on dried palm leaves, bhojpatras, copper, plates and bark of the birch tree were used as paper for writing. The handwritten records for documents on bhojpatras or palm leaves are called manuscripts. Many manuscripts got destroyed, but some of them have been preserved in the temples and monasteries. We get a detailed report about religion, medicine, and science. Most of these scripts are written in Prakrit, Pali, Sanskrit, and Tamil. There are some recorded handwritten documents on copper plates called Tamrapatras. The inscription from the king were carved on the stone surfaces and were called inscriptions. Religious literature. These consist of the Vedas of Hindu in Sanskrit, Pitakas of Buddhism in Pali, and Angas of Jains in Prakrit. They tell us about beliefs, society, customs, and traditions of that time. The Puranas of the epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana, also provide useful information of that time. Non-religious literature. These consist of prose, plays, dramas, poetry, grammars, Kautilya's Arthashastra, Kalidas, Abhigyan, Shakuntalam, etc. The secular literature throws light on the life of the people of that period. The accounts of events by foreign pilgrims and travelers like Fahian, Chinese, and ambassador like Megasthenes, Greek, who visited India in earlier times are important sources of information about ancient Indian history and culture. Historical literature. These consist of autobiographies of the ancient rulers and biographical sketch like Harsacharit. Do you know the temple found in Java and Cambodia tell us about the spread of Indian culture to distinct countries in ancient times. The various sources of history provide us information on the way earliest and the early people adapted to make their life comfortable. They gave us knowledge about marvels of the past and inspire us to march forward to achieve a successful life. So, इस तरह से अलग अलग sources of history से हम पता लगाते हैं कि history क्या थी हमारा past क्या था और ये वो सारे sources हैं जो हमें help करते हैं. The time frame. History is written in a chronological order, so definite time period of an event is important to know to discuss further its detail. We see two types of time period in history, BC before Christ and AD Anno Domini in the year of the Lord Christ. हम हिस्ट्री को क्रोनोलॉजिकल ऑर्डर में सेट करते हैं जिससे हमें पढ़ने में आसानी हो. हमारा टाइम फ्रेम दो पार्ट्स में बटा होता है, BC जो हम क्राइस्ट के पहले वाले टाइम को मानते हैं एंड AD एनो डोमिनी जो हम क्राइस्ट के पैदा होने वाले साल से शुरू करते हैं. BC. All dates and years before the birth of Christ are written in BC or BCE before Common Era. This period is counted in backward order. For example, if we write 223 BC, it means 223 years before the birth of Christ. AD. The full form of AD is Anno Domini. These are Latin words that mean in the year of the Lord Christ. All dates and years after the birth of Jesus Christ is written as AD or CE, Common Era. For example, if we write 223 AD, it means 223 years after the birth of Jesus Christ. To divide the years of history, we make a time frame in the given way. Look at this picture here. This is how we divide time. The birth of Christ in the middle. After the birth of Christ, we count our Common Era, AD, and before the birth of Christ, in a backward manner, we count the BC, before the birth of Christ. The geographical influences. The history of a place is affected by its geography. The geographical factors determine the development of a particular area. The area where the environment is favorable are densely populated. Their culture is also affected by outside influences or foreign travelers. On the other hand, the places with an unfavorable environment are sparsely populated. The culture that develops here is not much affected by outside influences. The history of the Indian subcontinent has largely been influenced by its geography. This is the map of India. On the basis of the analysis of the geographical framework of our subcontinent, we can easily understand that early people lived mainly in the following places. First, banks of Narmada. For several thousand years, people lived along the banks of river Narmada. They were skilled gatherers, that is, gatherers of food. They collected fruits, and many other forest produce for food. The vast wealth of the plants scattered around in the surrounding forest areas was very well known to them. They used hunted animals for food and used their skins for making clothes. The areas along the Suleiman and Kirthar hills. These areas are located in the northwest of subcontinent. These are some of the places where people first started growing crops like wheat and barley around 8,000 years ago. People also started rearing animals such as sheep, goat and cattle. So, students, geographical influences are important, that where people are going to reside or residing, where the environmental conditions are very favorable. अगर environment ऐसा है जो हमें रहने में मदद करे, जैसे कि पीने का पानी अवेलेबिलिटी होना या खाने की अवेलेबिलिटी होना, वहां पर पॉपुलेशन हमेशा ज्यादा होती है. जहां एनवायरमेंट अच्छा ना हो, जहां पर पीने के पानी की और खाने की सुविधा कम से कम मिल सके, वहां पर लोग कम रहना पसंद करते हैं. पहले भी ऐसा होता था और आज भी ऐसा ही होता है. लुक एट दिस पिक्चर. दिस इज द पिक्चर ऑफ इंडियन subcontinent and this is the picture of Kirthar hill. So here in this book they are talking about two main areas where ancient peoples have lived, like bank of Narmada. नर्मदा के किनारे काफी लोग रहे हमेशा से, और सुलेमान किरथार हिल्स के पास. The areas along the Vindhyas and Garo hills. These were some of the areas where agriculture developed. The north of the Vindhyas was the place where rice was first grown. Banks of the Indus and its tributaries. Some of the earliest cities flourished on the banks of these rivers around 4,700 years ago. Banks of Ganga and its tributaries. About 2,500 years ago, cities developed on the banks of Ganga and its tributaries and along the sea coast also. In ancient times, there was a large and powerful kingdom named Magad. It was situated to the south of the Ganga and along its tributaries. Son. Its rulers were very powerful and set up a large empire. Kingdoms were also set up in the other parts of the country as well. Names of our country? India is called with different names such as India, Bharat and Hindustan. Let us see how it occurred. India. The Iranians and the Greeks were familiar with river Indus. They called it the Hindos or Indos. The land of the east of river was called India. Bharat. Bharat was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest. They are mentioned in the Rig Veda, the earliest composition about 3,500 years old in Sanskrit. Later this name was used for the whole country. Hindu. The word Hindu also comes from the Indus. The river Indus was called Sindhu in Sanskrit. The Iranians and Greeks called it Hindos. Different types of past. We are going to study about the different types of past here. The past was different for different people. For example, the lives of the kings were different from those of farmers. Farmers led very hard lives, whereas kings led lavish lives. Kings often kept records of victories in battles. They got their orders inscribed on stone or metals. We know much about kings. In contrast, ordinary people, too busy, like farmers, hunters, gatherers, herders, were too busy to earn even 2 square meals for themselves. They were unaware to keep records of what they did. Moreover, as is true even today, people follow different practices and customs in different parts of the country. So, this is how we know what is our history, how are we going to study our history, and most importantly, how we are going to learn from our history. By summing up this chapter, we have learned that men moved from the stage of nomad, hunter, food gatherer to food grower and then to modern man. Our information about prehistory depends upon the remains of tools, bones, pottery, ornaments and weapons that have been excavated. The written records of dates, kings, kingdoms, names of the place and people on pillars, palm leaves and Bhojpatras provide information about ancient India. The people who study the remains of the past are called archaeologists. The study of inscription is called epigraphy. Coins helps us to learn about the rules of a particular kingdom. Coins also tell us about the socio-economic conditions of a kingdom. The study of coins is called numismatics. Monuments are old buildings or the remains of temples, stupas, palaces, tombs and forts. Fossils are imprints of animals, plants and humans preserved in rocks. All written records of the past are known as literary sources. The handwritten records or documents on Bhojpatras or palm leaves are called manuscripts. Most of these scripts are written in Prakrit, Pali, Sanskrit and Tamil. It was the Suleiman and Kirthar hills where about 8,000 years ago people first began growing crops such as wheat and rice. Some of the earliest cities flourished about 4,700 years ago on the banks of the river Indus and its tributaries. Thank you students. Fill this exercise by yourself and let's meet in the next class.